Hey guys, welcome to the party. We are the Weekend Rockstars, your weekly podcast for all the tips, tricks and licks you need for getting started in music. I am Scott Freeman, and with me as always is Billy, loves a meme deadman. Billy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I love a meme.
You do love a good meme.
I do love a good meme.
Yeah.
I've noticed, have you seen, I don't know if it's just like a new meme or not, but I have noticed a lot of memes coming up on my Facebook feed.
Okay.
Of Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Mr. Candy.
Oh yeah.
From
Django.
Yeah. And I don't know why this meme has suddenly sprouted.
Okay.
When the movie came out like ages ago.
8 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and like it seems to be popping up everywhere, and I don't know what that's about. So I don't know.
What's the content of these Calvin Candy memes? Because he's a slave owner.
I cannot remember now.
Okay.
I've lost my train of thought on what it was actually about. I have to try and find one. Maybe continue the podcast and I'll pipe up with what it was.
There you go. Okay, homework for next time. But yes, we have a very special guest in the studio today, a fellow local musician, someone I've played lots and lots of gigs with over the last, I'm trying to think how many years it's been, 8 years, I think. As long as Django Unchained's been out, I've known Fred. So there you go. So introducing Mr. Fred Irwin. Woo!
Oh, thank you. You're too kind. It's good to be here.
Hey, cool. And I should also note that Fred's manager Beth is also present in the studio. She's giving Fred notes on flashcards. So if he mucks up, he's toast. He's toast.
She's just here for the hand signals.
Yeah, it's just here.
Can't see them, but you know the ones. You stop that.
They're already starting.
You stop talking.
Yeah.
I'll pipe down now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Beth.
So Fred, how have you been? We've been in lockdown. Haven't seen you in a while.
It's been far too long. I'm doing all right. Lockdown's all got a bit tedious, really, hasn't it? But
yeah.
I'm all for looking on the bright side, seeing the bigger picture and things. I'm still happy, still healthy, still lucky to be working from home as well. And things are starting to look brighter. So
Definitely. What you been doing for fun? You've been doing some music.
I've been trying. You'd think nothing would stoke inspirational fires like the world going to shit.
Yeah.
But it's really done nothing for me. I've sunk into this hole of, like, initially sort of early lockdown, you know, a lot of people sort of feeling a bit like about it all, struggling to sort of motivate myself. And then as it's gone on, I felt a little bit better about things, but it's still not translated to anything musical. But yeah, no, I've still been playing, done a couple of like live stream gigs, which has been fun. They seem to be getting a lot of traction lately, and I'm all for like new ways to bring the music to people.
Yeah.
As strange as it is, kind of like finishing a song and then, like, you know, hold for applause.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. That's just my girlfriend sat in the corner, very politely applauding me, which I appreciate. It feels more normal than it did. Yeah. But yeah, you know what I mean. You trying to like talk into the mic, maybe, you know, a little stale but practiced stage banter, and like there's nobody there to respond. Yeah. But people are still listening. So.
Little clapping emoji.
Yeah, so many clapping emojis, which, you know, that reminds me that people are still watching, which is nice. Yeah. I'm like, cool, you did pay attention.
It is a bizarre, it's like a bizarre episode of Black Mirror sometimes, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
Hasn't this year been a bizarre episode of Black Mirror?
We're living in Black Mirror.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like this year, if this had been a Black Mirror episode, they'd be like, nice, jump the shark, it's just a bit too much now.
Yeah.
Like, all of that stuff before that was believable, but now?
At some point, Charlie Brooker is going to come out and say, "Oh, sorry, guys."
Yeah,
it's too far.
He's just going to come on the news and be like, "This is
I had you."
Yeah.
The virtual reality goggles just come off. You're like, "Oh,
yeah,
it's just January 2020 again."
Yeah.
I just want, was it Ashton Kutcher to come out and be like, "You've been punked."
Oh yeah, you've been punked.
Yeah.
Punked.
Punked. Oh my word.
There's hidden cameras everywhere. It was never a thing.
Yeah.
What would happen if that happened? You know, it just, you know, the government would be like, murder is wrong and illegal, but today, whoever brings me Charlie Brooker's head.
Poor Charlie Brooker.
Poor Charlie Brooker. We're
sorry. So that's how lockdown's going.
Yeah, that's how lockdown's going. Okay. Righto. Well, Fred, you've released a new song.
I have indeed. I've not been totally unproductive.
Oh, tell us about the new song.
I felt like it was a timely moment, a timely time. I felt like the time was right to rework what is technically a slightly older song. Just to sort of deviate, actually. I seem to remember it getting its live debut at the Joiners, and you were there.
Ooh.
You and I played to a pretty much empty Bar the Soundman Joiners, but I distinctly remember that was like a new song then. And
yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
oh, yeah, I like it. Anyway, that kind of... It never made an album or anything. Like, you know, I think I might have put it on a MySpace at the time.
Ooh.
All these years later, I don't have that original track. I don't know what happened to it. I think MySpace shut down.
Yeah.
Beginning of lockdown, everyone's having problems with their internet, and I'm like, hey, I wrote this catchy little ditty about how rubbish internet is, specifically Virgin Media.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I reworked that, and I've put it out. It's called Fucking Useless, or Effing Useless if you're listening to the radio edit. It's nice to have a radio edit for a change, actually. I thought that one through.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it seemed a timely moment to sing about internet troubles and almost like think about something other than the wider issues. Like, hey, let's go back to first world problems for a sec. My internet sucks. Doesn't matter if the world's on fire outside.
Yeah, it's a good song. It's a good song. I did, you know, when I listened to it the other day, I did feel like I'd heard it before, you know. And so yeah, I heard it all those years ago at the Joiners.
That'll be it.
Did we play with a ska band? Was it with that ska band
vaguely
Levi?
familiar.
You know,
That does sound familiar, yeah.
Was it 2013 or 2014? I'm trying to... It's a long time ago.
Yeah, that sounds about right, because it was in that kind of like dead space between Nights Like These, which I think I dropped 2012, and I didn't start writing for Forever Never Lasts until maybe 16.
Yeah, okay.
And that was something that happened in between, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool, man. Well, it's a good song, and today we're gonna be talking about the methods around releasing music and what methods we've used for releasing new music that we feel have worked and have benefited us. And so Fred, I want to talk about the release of Effing Useless, and like where have you released it on?
This has been the first release for a while, notably that I've not sort of made any physical copy of.
Is that because there's been no way to gig it? Or
I think that does largely play a part, yeah. Although I have CDs for sale on the website, it's limited sort of how many go on there. I'd say 90% of the CDs I've sold have been at a gig. So, I think that probably factors
into it, yeah.
Whether or not it'll end up on CD, you know, if the world returns back to normal, we'll see. But, I thought I'd take a different approach with this one, and I sort of half justified it with it's not quite new, and it's a home recording, and I've never proclaimed to be much of a mixer or producer. Let alone musician. But I'm sat mixing it at home, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to give this away as a free download because, you know, it's just, hey guys, we're in lockdown. Here's some music. I didn't want it to be and I recognise the privilege in this as well. I didn't want it to be a money making exercise. I'm lucky that I'm still working from home throughout lockdown. I didn't have any concerns in that sense. So I'm like, okay, let's put the release out there, free download or pay what you want. And, you know, it's still early days. I've not paid too much attention to sort of the numbers yet, but I thought that was worth mentioning because it's a different release. I've not done anything quite like that before.
Okay.
It still ended up on the usual platforms, or the streaming places, and I think iTunes as well.
Yeah.
Possibly Google Play, although I hear something about them converting to YouTube Music now.
Yeah, Google Play are dying a death.
Which is a shame, because that's what I use for all my, for want of a better word, bootlegs, like stuff that's not stuff that's not on Spotify, YouTube, or any of my usual subscriptions, or, you know, just independent artists. I've bought a CD at a show, but I don't use iTunes or anything like that, so I use that for like a streaming library of my own stuff. I guess that's where people could end up saving effing uses. So you get the free download, and if you're not in the habit of just playing through downloads on your laptop, that's what I like to Google for. But.
Yeah. So do you feel that, you know, you've released this song online, you've obviously done some other online releases, you know, you've got Forever Never Lasts and obviously Nights Like These. Have you found that there's been a good reach there, that you've like made new fans further afield, like you've, met new people through it?
It's been a vastly different experience for each release. Largely in part, there's probably like 3 years in between each release.
Yeah.
So, technology and that moves so quickly. So
it does.
Nights Like These, for example, when excuse me, I think it was a Bandcamp release, and I flogged a few CDs as well.
Yeah.
Fast forward to Forever Never Lasts, that went straight on the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And CDs, and then now to this one where it's just like, okay, well, forget the physical mediums and do a download. And I think each certainly has their merits. We've already touched on, Billy, that CDs are great for the captive audience.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't matter what you're trying to market.
Yeah.
For want of a better word, your best shot is when somebody's there in your hand talking to you about it. That's your warm lead, whatever a salesperson might say. And I'll say every gig I play, like, oh yeah, my name's Fred Irwin, you'll find me on Spotify, Apple Music, whatever you want to use.
Yeah.
And some of them might go home, punch it in, might get some followers out of it, great. But a lot of them go home, sleep it off, forget about it. Whereas on the night, people who are like, I love that, what have you got? And they'll buy a CD there and then, and that sticks with them.
It's a great sensation, isn't it?
It really is. And that's one of the big arguments these days for the vinyl revival. That's why I'm collecting records again, is because you only get so much on your screen. It's nice to have a new release physically arrive on your doorstep.
Some proper artwork on it.
Exactly, artwork that you can touch and feel and see. And it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
But then again, something like Bandcamp, that's a obviously there's no initial cost for making CDs and things like that. I think, I know you can obviously set your own sort of pricing structures as well. So you've got the option like, here's a release for a $5, or here's a pay what you want single. And then I think as far as reach goes, you can't knock the streaming platforms, like for all the other faults and the arguments about how the money is distributed and how much Spotify CEO makes versus the average musician, for example, or how much Spotify will make you versus the average CD sale. But in terms of reach, it to this day blows my mind that somebody somewhere in Germany has listened to a song off Nights Like These.
Yeah.
And I don't know how that happened, and I never would have been able to sell them a CD. I've not gigged in Germany yet. And even then it's, come on, please buy a CD. There's no guarantees, but somehow it gets it out there.
It's weird, isn't it? Yeah, I went on Spotify the other day, and I don't check it out a lot. I don't make a lot from Spotify because it's less than a penny per stream, which to me is robbery, and hence why I didn't put my third album up, because I was like, I actually would like to make some money off of it. I spent however much money making it, it'd be nice to make some of it back. But I went on Spotify the other day to look at like my past two albums, what they're doing, and my song Bacon Bits from my second album has been played 50 times in the last week in Saint-Germain-en-Laye in France.
Amazing. Someone is loving Bacon Bits.
That's just like, what? I was like, is there someone like I know who's there on holiday and it's just like I accidentally put it on repeat? Like, that must be the case, right?
You know what? It might have been that that they searched for songs that include the title Bacon in it.
Yeah.
That's how they came across it. Because I know from experience, just this past weekend, we started making a playlist for the wedding breakfast at our wedding.
Okay.
Right? And we want all the songs to be about food songs while everyone's eating. So we have got, I'm trying to think now, play out.
Are you making allowances for drink? Because I want to hear some Khaleesi.
We got so milkshakes on there. Obviously Continental Breakfast by my own band. Be Our Guest or Be My Guest is on there. Things like the Candyman. The Candyman, but now you've said that, I just remembered, shit, Bacon Bits, that's got to go on there.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. I totally forgot about Bacon Bits.
For what it's worth, I think that is my top played Scott Freeman song in my library.
Really? Have you been to Saint-Germain-en-Laye recently?
I have not.
No? Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Billy, I'm going to throw the question over to you. So, like, music online, you've obviously been in several bands over the years. You've got some albums, some singles up there across those various bands. Have you found that putting the music up on the streaming services has produced any new fans, or has that, reached any promoters or anything? Has it been helpful?
I don't know so much about new fans on the streaming services, because I guess so. Like, but it's hard to make it into like a tangible like record of who this person is or whatever, because obviously they're not signing up to anything. You don't get their details of whoever streaming. You just get a number,
And that,
and you don't really know. It's interesting. You've obviously got one or 50 streams of one particular song from one place.
Yeah.
That probably is one person that bloody loves that song and has been playing it non-stop
50 times.
So that's really interesting.
Or they've
like,
got a huge friendship group.
Yeah.
Each of them has played it a couple of times.
I think obviously the bigger you get, and you can then kind of see on a map where you're being listened to, and that might help if you're planning a tour or something.
Yeah.
Like you got so many people in such and such place. But yeah, I think it's the streaming sites. I think are great for obviously getting stuff out there for relatively free entry to even listen to you.
Yeah.
And it kind of is like window shopping in a way.
Yeah.
That's the way you got to kind of think about it. In terms of promoting the music.
Yeah.
But there's obviously so many other ways. I mean,
There
what other
are.
ways are we going to get into?
There are many ways. So I just want to throw it out to the floor, really. We've obviously talked a little bit about putting your music up on these streaming services, and we feel that, the general vibe is that actually it is a bit impersonal. You don't actually know who is that person in Saint-Germain that's listening to me, who's this person in Germany that's listening to me. If it was more of a social media Spotify, say they listen to a song and then they could leave a comment about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you could actually build fans through it.
Yeah.
For all I know, there's when you put your music up on a CD Baby or a DistroKid or whatever, TuneCore to send out to all these sites, there's like 200 of them.
Yeah.
So maybe there is a music streaming site out there that's also a bit of a social media. But like the big ones, like your Apple Music and your Spotify and your iTunes, Google Play, they're not.
They're just a service. They're not a social media platform.
Yeah. So for all we know, we are building new fans, but like how are we engaging with them? It's hard, isn't it?
I think that's the key point you made there, Billy, about tangible sort of audience. Like I say, for what I said about it blowing my mind getting streams in Germany or wherever. Correct me if I'm wrong, Germany, but as far as I'm aware, I don't have fans there. It's great to know that the music is getting streamed there, but I am pretty sure, especially when you want to look at sort of repeat plays, things like that. I'm talking about I see the odd play in this country, that would suggest it's not necessarily an established fan base. But another great point or analogy you used, Billy, was the idea of window shopping. If it being there, and it is insulting the monetary value of that one stream.
Don't like robbery.
It really is, because if that one person in Germany had have bought even one of my singles off me, because I've done a couple of homemade single CDs that I dish out for £1 because they, it's a homemade CD with my song on it, but it's the profit on that is pennies, and it's still like 100 times what you're making off Spotify. But like you say, it's a chance for window shopping. If there is a small chance of somebody in a country I've never been to, Germany's a bad example, I've been there, but I see them sometimes, and it's like, if there's a chance they might be like, this slaps, I'm going to find his website and buy a t-shirt or a CD. And
they'll come to a gig when we can gig again, sort of thing.
Exactly.
And or if you gig in their town, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Madagascar to gig.
Why not? That sounds
fun.
Maybe
I will.
I mean, it depends on the rider.
It's not too late. You can reschedule the wedding venue for Madagascar.
I'll go there if there's actually talking animals.
Yeah. Well, how do you know if you don't go there?
Oh, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So we've talked a bit about streaming sites. It's a bit hard to build fans through there because there's not a lot of general contact with the people who are listening. So is is it face to face? Is it going out and gigging? Is this still like the best way of making fans? That face to face interaction, does it beat the online experience? Is that the best way to like get your music out there? To just go play lots of places and meet people? Do you think?
I feel like it's really skewed as we've sort of gone into the 21st century, and there's me sounding like I've been playing music since the 20th century. Like, I was born in '93. Like, yeah, I remember tapes and CDs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you're only going to get so far on a good social reach if you don't actually go out and play gigs.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, there's the monetary argument. If you literally just do well on socials and your Insta and Facebook likes, and then put something on the streaming platforms and never play a gig, it's not going to be sustainable.
Yeah.
But we've got to the point where no longer is it enough to go out and play 300 shows a year.
Yeah.
And that necessarily carry any weight to building a fan base. It's tragic that there are so many in that situation who are so talented and just don't have that reach because they're not so good on the socials or whatever. So I don't know if that's necessarily an answer, but it's striking me as such a more and more delicate balance between the two. You look at bands from decades gone by, and it's like, right place, right time. They dropped this song at this time, and the world just lapped it up. And I feel like it's
a bygone era.
I feel like it really is. I feel like that doesn't happen anymore unless they've got a good social media campaign behind them. I feel like one without the other.
Or they're like somehow already a household name.
Yeah, exactly. If you're a big household name, you can drop a tune and I mean, what's this new Taylor Swift release? Like, I must admit, I've still got to listen to it. I feel like I'm going to enjoy it. I think she's a fantastic musician, but I read something about this being her first independent release after walking away from some toxic management and stuff.
Okay.
But because she's Taylor Swift, she literally just had to say, "Oh yeah, I'm dropping an album," and next thing it's number one. Obviously, it's an extreme example, but I feel like just good music and just a good touring schedule versus just a good online reach and presence. Unfortunately, you can't have one without the other. As I've found with experience, but also, just seeing.
I think you got to have, like you say, a real good combination of everything. You got to spin many plates.
Yes.
So you got to have your music out there on the storefronts, and including the window shopping, as mentioned. You got to have really good social media engagement with people online. And try and bring people in that way with decent content, whether that's pictures or video. We'll come back to music videos. And another one is obviously you got your traditional old style media routes like magazines, which are all sort of failing these days, blogs, and you've also got radio. And radio you'd think is pretty much dead, especially the mainstream radio. But with my blues band, the Brave Rivals, we've had quite a bit of success with basically you can get on these blues radio circuit almost, where they all share your music with each other. So the live album we did has been shared by all these different blues radio stations, ended up getting played in Italy.
Cool.
And stuff like that, and this guy just messaged us, "Oh yes, I'm playing your album this Friday," and I was like, "Brilliant!" So
okay.
Top stuff.
There you go. We apologise to our Italian listeners for that impression.
He said that. That's what he said.
I've managed to maybe offend non-existent German fans, and you've.
I've commented about.
I just got to nuke that relationship.
There you go. Right. Wow, Europe's getting a pounding tonight. Okay. So
you really think Europe's listening? They hate this country now.
But I mean, the radio. I was really surprised at how well the got traction with the blues radio stations. I don't know if there's the thing with indie music is there's not much of that traditional radio stations. There is a.
Yeah.
I like to give a shout though to. It's called the Premium Blend Radio Show. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
No.
They play predominantly indie music, and he lives down in Hastings. Just one guy in his house or whatever doing it online. And he basically does the show and pops that on Spotify each week as well.
Yeah.
So there are some out there. So if you can get on those guys' cases, you can get some coverage.
Sounds like a really high quality food mixer.
The Premium Blend. He's a good guy there, and so I think I'd say you got to spin all these plates if you want to be getting the kind of traction that I think we all want.
Yeah. So radio is an interesting one. But yeah, as we've been saying, gigging, we feel like that is it's a really important one. Is that, if you're looking at a foundation for how to build your, music releases, going out and gigging and pumping it into people's ear holes in a venue, is that the foundation? That's the bedrock that everything gets built on? Or do you think other things come first? Do you think that's got to be, you got to have that first before you have online stuff?
I did subscribe to that view, and it's starting to shift because I'm seeing more and more examples of artists having social media wrapped around their finger, so to speak. Got all the likes and everyone interacting before they've even booked their first show or dropped their first release.
That's Scottish guy, wasn't it? Who was it?
Lewis Capaldi went nuts on social media.
Yeah, and he had hardly ever gigged or something.
Yeah.
But
just because he was a funny guy on Instagram, wait, to be fair, he is funny, and the music's great as well. Yeah. But it only hit my radar because my other half's look at this funny guy on Instagram.
Yeah,
I think it's a weird situation where you are getting these acts coming through that are really good at the social media, and then they don't have much in the way of an actual stage show. It's they've never gigged before. They don't have any rapport or any banter.
And that's not to say they can't follow up with it.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm really starting to wonder if you say about the bedrock.
Yeah.
Because it's about getting the right kind of gigs as well. You're not going to fill in people's ear holes if you book a tour of open mic slots at venues where they're just putting open mics on to maybe see if it pulls a few more people in. Half of which aren't interested, and they're shouting at the football other side of the bar. There's gigs and there's gigs at local venues, and
things I haven't gigged in so long. I kind of miss those gigs as well. It's really atrocious.
I miss playing to just the sound guy and a waitress tripping over my guitar case. I'll take them all.
Those were the days. Those were the days.
Matt, I inspired Matt enough to write a song called "A Man and His Dog," all about gigging to just a man and his dog. We miss it.
Yeah, I had a song on my third album called "The Sheeptown Kid and His Trip to Jail," and it was all about my journey to my job working at the prison and how I was trying to live as a full-time musician. I was playing all these awful gigs, I got thrown out of some of them.
Blues Brothers style.
Blues Brothers style, literally had things thrown at me. It was not nice, but yeah, okay. So we're thinking maybe the bedrock is no longer gigging.
I feel like it's shifting.
It shifts.
Even more so, coronavirus and lockdown has changed the game completely for this year. You can't gig at all. So how are you gonna promote yourself? You have to totally rely on social media.
Yeah,
I just feel like in what's becoming a more and more, I guess, saturated industry. There's so many people, even ignoring the ones who can't back it up with musical quality. There's so many talented bands, artists, projects out there, and you've got to narrow stuff down somehow. And I guess whereas once upon a time it would be a case of who could afford a weekend of studio time so they could physically record a demo tape and send it to someone. Now it's pretty easy to make a home recording and get that to someone. But now it comes down to, okay, well, how many likes have you got on Facebook? If we book you for a gig, are you going to make us money? And once upon a time, that would be decided on putting a tape on a reel-to-reel or whatever, listening and being like, yeah, these guys sound like money. And now it's, they've only got 100 likes on Facebook. Can they really pull in a crowd here.
Yeah.
And that is the way it's going. And that's not to overgeneralize. Not everyone will book on that basis. But there does seem to have been that cultural shift where you're going to struggle to have one without the other.
Yeah. There you go. Social media. Yeah. You just got to be Lewis Capaldi, apparently, and you can do anything. But that's it. Personality
and come up with an engaging way to talk to what audience you do have on there, I think. Yeah. And then hopefully they share that content and bring more people into you. I think that's it.
That's it. So it's finding a way to present yourself on social media, your sort of like music brand, in a way that's kind of like palatable and catchy that people really like. That sort of registers with a wider audience, but it's still true to you, and you're not trying to be something else. I find that difficult. It's kind of trying to think. I can play to a crowd and have everyone singing Two Cats or something, and have a really like engaging night, and I can walk out of it going, yeah, I'm a rock star. Like you feel great. You
feel like $1 million, don't you?
Yeah, and then like you still think, well, still not getting anywhere. Yeah. So like, what's the catch? Why isn't this like growing bigger? And is it because everyone's on the social media? That's where you need to be. You need to distill all that live stuff that works onto it. And I almost feel like you need to have like a degree in social media these days to get anywhere in any business.
That's the key you use is getting your brand out there. Once upon a time, it was just about getting your good music to people's ears. Yeah. Now I've got to look good. You've always got to. Image has always played its part, hasn't it? That's probably a bad example. But now I've got to type good. I've got to share the right stuff.
Yeah.
It's a tough one because, like I say, I can sit and debate till the cows come home about my qualities as a musician, but I'd be the first to admit that when it comes to like an engaging online presence, I haven't got a clue. On a personal level, I'm not a huge fan of social media, and that's not to discount it as a whole thing. It's great for distant families keeping in touch, this, that, and the other. I don't think it's totally evil or totally great.
Yeah.
But I came off personally from Facebook for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
And in the end, I realised that as a result, I wasn't updating the band or the artist page, the likeable Facebook page, because I had to be logged in on my personal account to do so. Yeah. And I did, and they've caught up and released like Pages Manager app and stuff, so I can kind of keep the two separate. But for quite a while, it was, if I want to update my artist Facebook, I've got to go in and see the personal feed, and I just find social media like more of a negative in my life than a positive. Like I say, on a personal level, not a music level, but it's hard to escape the crossover and preserve one's mental health if you feel that way about social media, while still developing your brand.
Developing your brand, I don't want to over, generalize here, but I mean, we're all millennials here, right?
Yep.
We're all millennials. So, like, we're the generation that saw the rise of technology and the rise of social media and the rise of the internet. We sort of, like, lived in a time before your phone wasn't everything.
We were the last generation.
Yeah, we were the last generation. And, like, the generation underneath us, Generation Z, they've grown up with it being such a big thing. And so I feel like social media and all these things that maybe we struggle with, aren't maybe as big a thing there. So maybe they're going to have more success in that sphere of things. So I feel like, because I have I have these conversations with people all the time, sort of around our own age, like social media is like, it's kind of cool, know, but like, I kind of don't want a lot to do with it.
I also remember the times before it.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing sitting here and saying, oh, I remember Bebo, I remember MySpace, boy am I old, and then it's like, no, wait a second, I remember before any of that. I remember MSN Messenger, where it wasn't a social network, it was, instant messages with your friends.
Yeah.
And then you realise that most of the generation below us aren't even on Facebook, they're on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Or TikTok.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm showing my age now because I've got Beth telling me like, oh, Fred, you should put some content on TikTok, and I'm like, on what? I only know of its existence because I got an email from DistroKid saying my releases are on there. So if you wanted to make a viral video to Wasted With You or Effing Useless, you can. But it's not going to be me who does it. I don't TikTok. And like you say, I feel like this next generation are going to come through where it's just what they know. It's what they've come through with. Yeah. Whereas we've kind of, where we are the last generation, we've had that crossover where we've seen bands like, whether you like them or not, Oasis, who literally went from, down here to up here on the basis of like a few good tracks, good rock and roll vibe, and
1 gig in Glasgow.
Yeah, that 1 gig in Glasgow, and then the next thing they're like,
the biggest band on the planet.
The biggest band on the planet. Even before they'd released Definitely Maybe, they had huge traction, and that was pre-social media. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now it will be
top. I was literally just top of the pops.
Yeah.
Radio play.
All the right magazines.
All the right magazines.
A tour of Japan.
Yeah.
And it's like, how have they heard of us here when we haven't even had a number one in the UK yet?
Yeah.
Whereas now, like, all of that kind of stuff relies on social media, and where we have been that last generation, there's been that weird sort of crossover where we were young enough to try and embrace it.
Yeah.
But we're not the ones who've, like, grown up with it.
Yeah.
Just like that. So, like I say, I can remember the journeys of certain bands not involving social media.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, well, now these journeys have to involve social media.
Weirdly, though, this is probably why I haven't really found a lot of new music coming from new artists that get really popular that I like. Like, I like stuff that's, you know what I mean? Like the stuff that does come out from the big artists is not really for me. Mm-hmm. It's for these young kids, obviously, and it almost becomes where the music is the afterthought to the brand. Almost like all the content built around it is not really about the music; it's about something else to just try and go viral.
Yeah,
and it brings home that line from the Arctic Monkeys even more. There's only new music, so there's new ringtones.
Yeah,
but now there's only new music, so there's TikTok videos.
Yeah.
Even that in itself, like Arctic Monkeys seem like such a recent big band.
Yeah.
And it's like, whoa, remember when ringtones were a thing? Like,
Yeah.
obviously I know phones still have them, but when was the last time you cared about customising your ringtone to some polyphonic version of a tune? Like,
yeah. It's like, like if they sung that song, A Certain Romance, live now, they'd have to change the lyrics. Almost how, I don't know if you noticed, but Bowling for Soup.
Yes.
When they sing Girl That All the Bad Guys Want, live now, they changed the word to, like, reference
They've updated
TikTok
it now, haven't they?
Which I think is hilarious.
Watching TikTok creaming over tough guys or something like that.
Yeah. It's just crazy because me personally, like, back in 2018, me and the Tokyo Sex Worlds, my backing band, we went and we did a big tour. It was like 2 weeks long. It was huge. It was epic. It was tragic. It was everything, and we played the Edinburgh Fringe. Like, we were so excited for it. We gigged all the way up from Guildford to Bristol to Manchester to Newcastle, and then we got to Edinburgh. We were on the streets flying. We were doing everything we could to bring people to the venue, and then we played to no one except the sound man. And it was one of those gigs. I mean, as I said, I long for those gigs right now.
I feel like this legendary Tokyo Sex Worlds tour should be made into a Netflix movie.
Yes.
Or something, like a dramatization comedy of it.
Yeah, oh my words.
Starry, I don't know, who should we...
Yeah, who would you have play Scott Freeman?
Who definitely Hugh Jackman.
Nice.
They'll have to, like, do some de-aging, obviously. But, that technology is, they'll be fine. Anyway, so we did the tour and we played to no one in Edinburgh, and it was such, like, the bar, like, was separated by a door, so there's a little venue, this place called Bannerman's in Edinburgh.
I've played there.
You've played there, yeah, so so it's
really sweaty.
It's this sort of little sort of alcove, long venue, and then there's a door which goes onto the bar, and it's the Edinburgh Fringe. Every bar is heaving,
It's also terrible sound in there.
It's awful, but but it's free accommodation, so but the bar was full of people, so I took off my guitar and I ran out and I goes, "Hey guys, we travelled all the way from Winchester, the bottom of England, to come play to you guys. Come watch us." And they're like, "Who are you?" I was like, "Well, Scott Freeman and the Tokyo Sex Whales. On that name alone, you should come see." You know? And they're like, "Never heard of you." Slammed the door at us, and you know, I was like, we were playing to no one, knowing that behind that door, just in the corner, there were like 50 people, and it just, the whole like hour we were booked to play, it just rubbed me the whole wrong way. And when I came home, I was like, this touring thing is not working. You know, I'm gonna start a YouTube channel and try and do something there. And so I've spent the last year and a half, nearly 2 years, building up this the YouTube channel and getting to, you know, make some fans there. And I found it's had some traction. You know, there's some people who've subscribed, I think, because I subscribed to them first, but there's some genuine people that every week are sort of commenting and are engaged, you know, and that's cool, you know. So I definitely think, yeah, if you pick a social media channel and you go for it, like really work hard at it, you can get some results. I think that's...
No, definitely. You can foster your own little community.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then you say there about picking the right channel. That's another thing. It's like not just trying to be good on one, but trying to be good on them all. It's like
that's it. That's what they say. Or you need to like be on this, the TikTok.
I've seen some people say just be good at one. Like you get different advice from who you talk to almost.
Yeah.
But
like I haven't got particularly big numbers on any channels, but like my Twitter following is dwarfed by my Facebook following.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I have more interesting things to say on Twitter, but there we are.
Yeah. And so I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if your generation C, if you're born with social media in your blood, you know, and you just get it. Because, you know, I was talking to my friend earlier who was here, and just like social media and just you know, all that is just so much more natural to him, which to me, I find it a bit more touch and go. Again, I don't know if I'm an outlier, but from this conversation I'm gathering I'm not alone.
No, I'm really starting to feel my age with stuff like that, because I've always, as long as I can remember, as far as it being around, have been on social media. But, I've not been a musician for all that time, and you just start to look at it in such a different light when you realise just how much any kind of music career hinges on it. And I'm sure you'll relate, Scott, as far as any kind of solo endeavours go. It can add that little bit of extra pressure, because when you're in a band, there's different strengths. And I mean, you're shit out of luck if you're in a band where, you know, you're a 5-piece and none of you have much of a handle of social media. But you generally find if you've got a 3 to 5-piece, like one of them will be sort of pretty adept at that kind of stuff.
There's always, like we talked about this in another episode, like one person inevitably gets the job of managing the social media.
Absolutely.
No one else cares. No one else can help them.
Whereas as a solo artist, it's kind of like, well, I don't want to do it, but nobody else is gonna.
Nobody else is.
Incoming Beth.
Incoming Beth. There you go.
Well, I'm lacking like a drummer or a bassist who's like, you know, financially or emotionally invested enough to take care of that for me.
That's it. You know.
Of course, I'm emotionally invested, but it's like I can only spread myself so far.
Yeah, as much as I ask my guinea pig to handle my Twitter account, he doesn't. So, there you go. I got to look
Probably
elsewhere.
get more sense out of him.
Probably get more sense out of him, yeah. I don't know what he'd talk about on there. Probably just like, I'd like some more food now, please. There you go. I love my guinea pig. Any excuse to bring him up. His name's Boris. He's awesome.
Nice.
There you go.
I'm glad there finally exists an awesome Boris.
There you go. Well, this was, you know, sorry, sidebar about my guinea pig, but, you know, I wanted to reclaim the name. You know, I thought it's a good guinea pig name, you know, and so there should be one awesome Boris on this planet. So that was my thing. And so one of our final topic is, you know, podcasts. Well, we're doing one right now.
Meta.
Meta. Yeah, we're getting meta.
We're through the looking glass.
Hello, Charlie Kaufman. Right, okay. So, so I think, you know, is this a good way to do it? You know, radio and podcasts, you know, radio looked like it was on its way out, but then I feel like through the new sort of podcast revolution, it's become another avenue to sort of share your music, You know,
yeah, there are definitely music podcasts. Like I said, like the Premium Blend, that basically is a podcast because he records it all and then uploads it to Spotify on the podcast bit.
Yeah.
So it's like a regular show.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So that's what you need to do, Fred. You need to start the Fred Irwin podcast.
I do.
Yeah.
I've considered it.
The Fred Irwin Hour.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it.
The Irwin Hour.
Ooh, the Irwin Hour. The
Yeah.
tagline would be something along the lines of, "Oh, at least it's only an hour." Or flip it on its head. Fred Irwin lasted an hour?
There you go. So is that what it's going to be in 10 years' time? Every musician has their own podcasts.
Might have to be.
Yeah.
Should we make a deal now?
Should we make a deal?
My next release, your podcast has exclusive rights to like the airing of the single.
I just had
that's fun.
a really crazy idea actually. Imagine a band release an album that is a podcast, but with the songs in the podcast.
Okay, explain this.
So like it's like a podcast show. Like, have you ever listened to the album by De La Soul?
3 Feet High and Rising
Yes.
is a masterpiece.
And it's basically the whole album is like loads of hip hop songs, but it's all presented as though it's like a game show.
Okay.
And like you got these little intermissions with like, hey, we got a question over here about such and such and all this. Like, yeah,
It's great.
So imagine this, right, where it's a podcast.
Yeah.
You have the presenter and everything, and like, oh yeah, now we're gonna listen to this cool track. I guess it's similar. I guess it's kind of been done because like Queens of the Stone Age kind of did it with Songs for the Deaf, where the character kept spinning between different radio stations. So I guess it's kind of been done. But this would be a podcast.
A podcast where you release the album. That's groovy.
I think it. I mean, not necessarily depend on the nature of the release, but that could be a viable format of like the a podcast accompaniment to a release.
Somehow the conversation flows in and out of the music.
You just segue from like what this line means to like, surmising this week in politics or something.
I wanna do it.
There you go.
And eating healthy on tour.
Yeah.
I know Frank Turner's last release, was it last release or the release before? He done No Man's Land, which was basically all the songs were, rather than his usual writing style of, autobiographical or stuff he's been through, they were all like tales from history, particularly ones that have been like not told as often as they should be because they were famous women throughout history. And he had a podcast to accompany it where like in the build up to the album, each week was a track where not only did he explain like the track itself, but obviously the format of the album lent itself to like a 45-minute episode digging deeper into that story rather than just what you could fit in a 3-minute song. And then the end of the episode, like you'd hear the song in full kind of thing. And next thing you know, the album drops and it's like, oh, I've heard these, but now I've got it.
I've listened to a similar series of it's a 2-series podcast. I think it's 2 series with Robert Plant, obviously Led Zeppelin, and I think that's actually called Digging Deep. And he just basically each week, it's only about 10-15 minutes long. He'll just chat with the presenter about a particular song from his back catalogue and explain what it means to him and what a funny story about it or whatever, like.
So I feel like there's a certain balance there, because do you feel like if an artist sits there and explains what their song's about, it takes away some of the magic and takes away some of the intimacy of the song, It
can also kind of enhance it as well.
Does
like,
it enhance it?
Like, because you learn something you didn't know about the song, like how it was recorded maybe, or like who he was like interacting with at the time, like, or like I can't remember which song it was, but it was very much inspired by a trip he made to Morocco and things like that. So it's like because I don't know, like I think like probably my favourite bands, it's split between The Doors and Arctic Monkeys, and like the Arctic Monkeys' last album, Tranquility Base, like when I listen to that, it takes me to a place like the Tranquility Base.
It takes you to the Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino, and I imagine this character that Alex Turner's kind of playing throughout it, and I go on this journey every time, with this character and this really surreal, trippy walk around the moon that he takes, basically.
Sidebar, Ultra Cheese is on the wedding breakfast playlist.
Fantastic.
It's got cheese in the title.
I love that. That's how... Yeah. It probably has nothing to do with cheese, that. So,
no,
well,
but it's in there. We were very fast and loose with the rules of this.
Yeah.
In which case, I'm making a request for Diggsy's Diner.
Yeah.
Like, throwing it back to Oasis. Like any song about lasagna.
I think that's on there, actually. I'm pretty sure Sarah put that on. So.
Yeah. Cool.
You're marrying the right one.
Yeah.
Marrying the right one. There you go. There you go. But yeah, my point was that at the end of the day, like, would that album and that experience of listening to it be better if Alex Turner just came on and was just like, oh, I was really high one time.
Nah.
Someone wrote this album.
I think that's the thing. You'll want that from Alex when he's like 70 years old, like Robert Plant. Yeah. Reflecting on his life. That's way more interesting then.
That's more interesting then than now.
Stuff like that is very heavily fueled by nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like listening to your grandpa regale you with stories of yesteryear, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he tells me about the war, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. Whereas when it's current affairs and he tells me about what he's done with his weekend, like...
Yeah. Do you know, I've read
Grandad.
I've read something a while back about Bohemian Rhapsody, the song, and that scholars met every couple of years to discuss what it's about. You know, like really put time and money into figuring out what Bohemian Rhapsody is about. Yeah. Could you and Freddie Mercury never liked talking about what the songs were about at all. Yeah. Could you imagine if somewhere out there's like a lost tape where like Freddie Mercury's like last recorded thing was him explaining what Bohemian Rhapsody is about.
What? And the Holy Grail.
There, like, what people would pay to get.
What do you guys think it's about?
What do I think Bohemian Rhapsody's about?
Yeah.
I think it's about everything.
Everything.
I think it's about literally. I think it's about everything.
That's a cop out.
It's like the film Birdman. Birdman is literally about everything. You know, I think when I listen to Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like I experience life all at once. You know, but I'm a very big fan of that song.
I've always thought there's something in that song about being gay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like because obviously at the time he wasn't an out and out.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't not out of the closet, whatever.
Put a gun against his head.
Yeah.
Pulled my trigger. Now he's dead.
I don't know.
I don't know if I want to read it that way.
I know. I feel like there's an element there, and also like where he's let me go sort of thing, you know, all that sort of stuff. I feel like there's something there. Surely, I don't know. But
potentially, if not about the homosexuality, certainly some kind of internal struggle.
Yeah.
Like, let him go.
Yeah.
We will not let him go.
Yeah.
I can see something in that. Personally, I
think
can't.
It's also
Magnifico.
It was also, I mean, like he wanted to bring opera to rock.
Yes, that's it. Well, it's kind of a murder ballads, you know, in the style of like Red Right Hand by Nick Cave. Murder ballads strangely do well, don't they? You know, when I first heard that song, I never thought, oh, this is going to be like the theme tune to like a major TV show.
South of the City, Murder Ballad.
That's a very good one.
Was the best song in that back catalogue.
There you go. Have you ever written a murder ballad, Fred?
I can't say I have.
No.
I have one song with ballad in the title, and it's not even a ballad.
Okay.
Is Hey Joe a murder ballad?
I think so.
I guess so.
I think it is.
It's about murder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're challenging Fred, but then Fred's next single that he's going to come in to promote, it's going to be a murder ballad. It's got to be a follow-up to Effing Useless about you actually going out and killing Richard Branson.
Media.
I'm already worried about getting a cease and desist from Virgin without making threats to kill.
No. I'd just like to state for the record that Fred Irwin has no intention to murder Richard Branson.
And neither did we implore him to do that.
No, we did not. This was a hilarious bit. Anyway,
although I do think he's a prick.
Anyway, so to conclude here in the podcast, I want to get a soundbite from each of you. What do you think is the best way to like get your music out there right now? What's worked for you, and what do you think people should be doing starting out? Fred, start us off.
A healthy combination of streaming and social media bants.
Okay, cool. Billy?
I'm going to echo that. The best way to promote your music is to spin many plates of responsibilities, because essentially you kind of have to look after everything that you could possibly look after in the promotion of the music. So you got obviously writing the music, playing the music. Obviously, you're a musician.
Mm-hmm.
You've got gigging the music, making that show the best it can be. You've got your traditional avenues: radio, print media, blogs, all that. Streaming, get it all on the streaming. Get all the all the social media content out there as well. Pictures, videos.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it all. You got to be the total package if you're gonna make it in this business.
You got to have a package.
Yeah.
Right.
Have the full package, and it's got to be damn good.
Yeah.
And then, even then, you need a bit of luck, because
even then you need a bit of luck.
Because you get about the whole total package,
Yeah.
Fuzzwalker, and still not get the traction that you probably could have deserved. But there you go.
There you go. I actually genuinely don't believe in luck.
For real?
You
For real, I don't believe in the
fate?
concept of luck. I believe life can seem very random, but I think things
Chaos theory
navigate their way towards something. You know, I genuinely, just like I've seen so many things happen in my life and other people's lives that I just can't believe in luck. You know, I believe in destiny in some way, in some abstract way. I can't quite describe it, but I just think luck is almost like a really lazy reason for explaining why things happen. You know, I feel like there's, you know, I think life's really complex. And anyway, we're going off into a really existential around. I think
that's one for
the
another
Weekend
podcast.
Philosophers.
Yeah, the Weekend Philosophers coming a year. Oh, that's definitely an offshoot we should have on top of the Weekend Gamers.
And we could do the whole Weekend
cinephiles.
Brand.
Yeah, the whole Weekend Brand.
Now we're talking.
There you go. Fred can have his own show, the Weekend Fred.
Yeah.
There you go.
Fred only operates at weekends.
Yeah.
So it works.
There you go. Yeah, but no, I mean, my recommendation is I think YouTube is, like, the reason I'm doing it now is because I genuinely think it's good. I think, you know, it's the number 2 search engine in the world, and you know, you never know what's gonna like work. I tried a whole bunch of different things, and the material you see on my walls, the mass loaded vinyl, I made 4 videos about it. 3 of them like have like nearly 1,500 views, and like my song videos every week have like 100 on average. So just like you never know what's gonna like work. So I think it's a good platform for getting out there. But yeah, social media is a big one. But I still think gigging. I still think you still gotta be out there making fans. You know,
that's the answer in my heart.
Yes,
like I really feel like none of the rest matters if you can't put on a good live show.
That's
like
it,
even if you can have some good songs written for you and make them sound good in a studio, if you can't play a good live show, what's the point?
Yeah.
But like I say, the answer in the head brings in all the other stuff, and like I say, unfortunately, you can be the best live musician in the world, and not enough people are going to give a damn for it to be sustainable unless you can get likes.
It's probably different for different people, but I mean, ultimately, I think we all agree gigging is the most fun thing you could do.
Yeah,
it is.
So
I'd sooner play 300 gigs a year than spend 300 nights a year on my laptop updating Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. And this is why we failed.
Nothing like ending on a positive note.
At the end of the day, kids, get on TikTok.
Get on TikTok. Get on.
Talk that tick.
That's getting your splish splash and your your WhatsApp.
Whatever. Maybe you're listening to this in 50 years' time, and there's some other new social media in the post-nuclear wasteland. Get on that.
Yeah.
Do that.
There you go.
I'm so glad you said that. Like, what's this old man talking about TikTok for? That's so last decade.
Oh man, in 50 years' time, it's going to be like that episode of Community where Subway becomes a living person.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, it's going to be like that. So, like, in 50 years' time, the Weekend Rockstars as like a brand will be like a living person walking around.
We'll hire Fred to be our living brand.
Yes.
That's great. We're all going to be just heads and tanks like Futurama in 50 years.
Oh my god! I saw an article. No, I know. We're trying to end the podcast right now, but literally,
it never ends.
Saw an article. Some scientists brought pig brains back to life.
What?
With like some like weird like chemical mixture. Like they were getting signals out of the brain, and they were doing the study to see ways they could like fix brain damage with it and stuff.
Oh wow.
So that's messed up, man. That's how zombie apocalypse
Was
starts.
his name Dr. Frankenstein by any chance?
Dr. Pickenstein.
Keep that shit away from my brain. Like,
Dr. Pickenstein.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed if I'm checking out any later than 70, and you're not bringing me back.
It's like, no, you must come back for it to play more gigs.
I must come back to do more social media.
Why were you brought back to life? Social media.
It did get me thinking though, like,
must tweet.
If they could bring a pig brain back to life, maybe they could bring a human brain and put that in a jar, just like Futurama. Like, life imitates art.
I'm thinking if they can get a pig brain back to life, I can get over 200 followers on Twitter. At Fred Irwin, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go. Well, that concludes our podcast for today, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have enjoyed it. I've been Scott Freeman. With me, as always, is Billy Deadman.
Hello.
And our very special guest, Fred Irwin.
Special indeed. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys.
It's been fantastic. Thanks, guys.